Hi, my name is Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses, and this is Your Black Women, where Black women keep it real. Here with my good friend Shaquita Graham, who is the founder and creator of lovingtheblackman.com and techco.com, which is for a platform for homeschoolers who want their kids to learn online. How are you doing today, Shaquita?
I'm doing pretty good, Noma. How are you doing?
I'm not complaining. However, I know there is an issue that is heavy on both of our minds, and it's the recent decision by the courts not to indict the police officer who killed a 12-year-old boy named Tamir Rice. And the reason why I thought it was important for you and I to discuss it is you are actually from Cleveland. So this, hits very close to home. And, before we started our segment, we had a chance to talk about it. And you told me that this was very, very upsetting for you. And you have some thoughts and a reaction to what has been going on. Then the other thing is that there have been some rumblings. Actually, it's more than rumblings. There's been a call for Lebron James, who's also from that area, to stop playing any games and basically, what's the word they're using? What's the word? Boycott.
Sit out or?
Boycott.
Okay.
Sit out, boycott his games. And this is to show solidarity with Tamir Rice and Tamir Rice's family. And, just protest the justice system because it seems like it's swayed against young black boys like Tamir Rice and, unfortunately, other young black boys, which unfortunately includes ours. So I just want to, what is your reaction to this story?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, these things are ongoing. This is like what someone named Tariq Nasheed called the 500-year coincidence. It's just like the Emmett Till thing, and it's just gone on and on till now. So I'm not surprised, and I don't expect that it will stop. Mm-hmm. So I am disheartened about that, and feeling that, sad that I have to expect this to be our reality in America, that black children, black men can be killed and incarcerated with impunity, and nothing is really just going to happen. And I think that it was surprising, though, that LeBron said, an article said that he says he really doesn't know enough about the case to really make a comment. I mean, I think it's one thing to ask someone to quit their job or boycott their responsibility that they've contractually taken on. And I've seen people go that far. You can go that far, if you so choose. But to say that, you don't know anything about this enough to make a comment, it just reminds me of a young man that I really applaud. His name is Andrew Hawkins. He plays NFL for the Cleveland Browns. And he made a statement by just wearing a T-shirt saying justice for Tamir Rice and John Crawford. And when he was asked to apologize about it, of course, by the police association or something, he refused to apologize, and he issued a very clear statement of his position where he says he doesn't think it's right for him to apologize about believing in justice and asking for justice. He says that if he was to run away from what he felt in his soul was right to do, then he would be a coward. He said he feels like if he didn't stand up for this issue that he felt was an injustice, that he would be a coward. And He says that it's great for people to stand by him, but don't just stand by him, but stand up and speak up for the people and the things you believe in. So when you compare and contrast those two statements, it's like it's an eye-opening moment, and it begs the question of yourself: what do you do in these times? Do you if something is happening to the children that look like you and look like your children and in your community, do you make an effort to find out what's going on and make a stance and speak out if there's an injustice? Or do you, as he says, you kind of negate what you might feel in your soul and be cowardly about coming out and saying anything about it?
Well, I have a thought about LeBron James. My reaction to him, being compelled to boycott his games or do anything like that was, no, he shouldn't have to do that. Especially if that idea didn't come from him. We don't have the right to ask him to forego his pay or his job or his work or whatever it is. And one of the things I said was these people who are calling for him to, sit out his games or whatever, did you go to work when you were required to? You probably did. And you're probably typing these messages and asking him to do the boycott as you are at work. Making, getting your paycheck. For those of us who are not necessarily employed by somebody else, I spend a lot of time, effort, energy on social media, Facebook, blogging, these YouTube videos, all of this, and this is part of my work. Am I going to stop writing, making videos, posting, doing all these things, which in some ways affect my, people knowing who I am and buying my products and services? Am I going to stop doing all that and say, in solidarity with Tamir Rice, I'm going to, maybe a blackout and not do anything and not say anything? Are those people willing to do that? And the truth is they're not. They want to go about their lives and be able to say something, but not necessarily affect them, their income, but they want him to do it. And that's what I'm saying isn't right. Now, should he pretend like he doesn't know what's going on? Because to me, it seems like he's pretending he doesn't know what's going on. I think he's giving a safe answer, which, when you get to that level of income, stature, popularity, fame, and so forth, you have people around you that advise you. And I would venture to say somebody advised him to take a neutral stance. Because anything he says, again, will be used against him, not necessarily by the law, but somehow, So I think that he has been advised to just take a neutral stance. And I know he knows that people have said he should boycott his games. He can't pretend like he doesn't know that, because if he doesn't personally know, he has a team around him who knows. And they've probably given him the advice and said he needs to be quiet, and not be too vocal about it. And they have their reasons. Can we live with those reasons? It's up to those who support him, whether they can live with that or not. And that's what I have to say about LeBron. As far as the young man who was killed, and nobody's going to face charges for doing it, I'm sad to say I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. I'm still outraged, but my outrage is contained because I saw it coming. I think I shared with you before when we were having a conversation that ever since, Trayvon Martin, the young black man who was killed, he was a 17-year-old boy who was killed by George Zimmerman, who was, Neighborhood Watch or whatever, killed him and then said, I was afraid for my life, and then he got off scot-free. Ever since that happened, it kind of gave me a huge jolt, to see where I am and the current justice system, the country I'm in and the laws and the way that they're applied. It gave me a huge jolt and a rude awakening that, so what I thought was going to happen, which is if you kill a little boy who didn't do anything, you go to jail. What I thought was going to happen, actually, I can't have that expectation. So I've stopped having that expectation, unfortunately. And it is what it is. I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm not saying that it's right, because I know that people like to misinterpret what people are saying. I'm just saying I'm not shocked. And I'm not surprised.
Right. So I think it comes down to kind of three things for me. One is you do a class called Getting Your F FU money or raising your FU money.
Get the hell out. Fire your boss. Basically, yeah. Not having to depend on anybody for your income.
Right. So the premise is that as at a certain level financially, you have money to basically make a decision about a scenario that you feel uncomfortable in, because you're no longer dependent on, say, a corporation or whatnot that's going to sway your view. So I just want to know, like, how much money is enough money to say FU, because, you know, LeBron James being worth almost $500,000, $320 million, and plus, you know, generating this type of money every year. Like, is that not enough money? If this is the reason why he's not making this statement, you know, isn't that enough to say, okay, you know, maybe I'm not going to boycott a game, but I have young children. I was a young boy in an impoverished neighborhood in the city, and this could have been me. Even though it's not my child right now, I think I should stand up for this because it could be my child. That's what Emmett Till's mother said. At some point, she only felt like the lynchings and things that were happening that was the people who lived in the South. It was their problem until it happened to her son. So she said that what happens to one of our sons should be all of our business. I mean, the same thing when you look at the Holocaust. They went from house to house, gathering up people, taking them to concentration camps. When the neighbor looked outside and it wasn't their house, they didn't have a problem, to the point where everybody was getting corralled there. So that's one thing. When is there enough FU money to make you stand up for your children and children that look like you? The other thing has to do with the fact that I just feel like LeBron, I just question whether he is really considering his role in the community and how important it is. Like Muhammad Ali, for instance, that he's going to go down in history as a great athlete, but much more than that, you know, and I just feel like I appreciate that. And somebody like Andrew Hawkins, who stands up and says, you know, I have a 2-year-old son, and his tears flow. I mean, you know, he was holding back tears in that comment. And so I start to question even myself when I say, okay, I try not to let this bother me, but is there something wrong with my humanity if I start to get to the point where this is normal and I accept this as a status quo? I think we're just at this place where we need to question our reaction to our children being repeatedly killed, and we know that it's not going to stop. We expect that the legal system will be complicit in it. What are we supposed to do? Whether if it's boycott or if it's wear a T-shirt, or is it to stifle our emotions about our children being killed? I mean, and that's where it comes to when it comes to homeschool, providing images for our children with the techco.com, providing knowledge to our children about technology that allows them to have options in these scenarios. But when are you going to have enough money and enough courage, like this young man, Andrew Hawkins, said? He said he was afraid of the backlash. But at that time, he had to say to himself, well, if I can't stand up for what I believe in, then am I a coward?
Well, you know, you said a lot. And I you know, the one that's sticking with me is, you know, the question about our humanity and how it's being eroded. Because, you know, I think that some of us do get to a point where you don't want to really be hearing this every day because it does erode you. And, you know, anything that persists long enough eventually gets normalized. And I think, sadly, we've gotten to that point where we're making that turn into normalization. You know, there's no United Nations saying, wow, America. You know, there's no statement from them right now. There's no statement from the president. Nobody, you know what I mean? It's business as usual. Everybody goes on. And unfortunately, LeBron James is actually reflecting the rest of the country to say, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. But I think that when you come to the nuts and bolts of it, the very fact of it is that a little boy lost his life and he shouldn't have. I think everybody should be able to take a stand and say, look, that's not okay. Whether you have, all the information about that particular case or not, I think you should be able to say no. I don't want to be.
I don't want to cut you off, but one fundamental thing we learn in school, us as homeschoolers, we know is we learn, one of the first things we learn in preschool is patterns.
Right.
Okay. When you see a pattern, the same pattern for 500 years, I'm like, if I say to my kid a certain pattern and then they can't repeat what comes next, then I start to question my kid's critical thinking skills.
Right.
And then when I see a pattern of black boys getting killed, so am I supposed to say, I'm going to stifle the way I feel
or I need more information.
And even if it's my son, what am I going to do? Am I going to say then I'm supposed to stifle it too? I'm supposed to stifle that, and I expect that to happen to my son. So, I expect no justice. I expect that he can be killed for any reason. I just expect that, and that's just life. That's
where we are. Of course, the complacency shouldn't be what follows, but that's where we are. That's where we are. Because the hope, at least for me, before the Trayvon Martin case, and maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough. The hope was like that was not okay, and the justice system would respond that way. That it would follow through and say, no, this is not okay. And when it's not okay, this is what happens. The person goes to jail. If they face some kind of penalty for what they did, because what they did is not okay. But what we're being told now is that this is okay. That's what we're being told, ultimately. Okay. When what happened recently, there was a shooting recently. And I remember seeing, there was a picture and maybe even a video where they showed the president. He looked like he had been up for days. He was weary because this really, really hit hard, and he's feeling like I'm in charge right now. And this happened on my watch. I don't know. Have you heard any statement from him today about yesterday's verdict? No,
I haven't.
Because guess what? It's normal.
Right. And one thing that LeBron said that I can agree with is that it is much bigger than him. And, I have love for all the black men out there and all of, the black people out here who are just trying to survive or whatnot. And I understand because I don't have all the FU money. I'd probably be saying FU a lot more if I had $320 million.
Right.
But the bottom line is, again, this is a pattern. We've seen whole towns massacred in America, whole towns of people, men, women, and children. So I just wouldn't put it past to say that, the past can't repeat itself, that it can't be your child tomorrow. And I would just, right now, for me, it's just a lot of soul searching to do, to say, how can I address this? You definitely want to have options on an economic level, but then you look at somebody like LeBron James, and he has all the options, a person can want on an economic level, but he can't even make a statement about this.
I think that's a good point where we can close out this conversation, because, again, we could go on and on about it and just say that it is a time for soul searching and asking some very important questions of ourselves, and for those people who have, bigger platforms and bigger voices than us, just ask some very important questions and go through a time of soul searching and do a little bit more than, I think, what did he say, pray for them or something? Do a little more than just pray for the family. I think we're required to do a little bit more than that. And it is what it is. And, we'll close out here. And I just want to remind our readers that they can feel free to comment, react, tell us what they think, how they're feeling what's going on for them in the comment section here. Again, my name is Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses. This is Shaquita Graham, and this is Your Black Women, where Black women keep it real. Thank you for watching.
Absolutely. Justice for Tamir Rice.